Welcome to Interface. My name is Tembisa Magele. The latest Global Entrepreneurship Monitor report for South Africa indicates that entrepreneurship in our country is on the decline. It is also persistently low compared to other countries, particularly here at home on the African continent. SMMEs contribute 45% towards South Africa's GDP, or gross domestic product. And also the GEM report names conditions such as the lack of funding, government policies and programs, and also a lack of education and training as some of the reasons for the low participation. With a fiscal budget of 1.3 billion rand for small businesses for the 2016-17 year, how does the ministry prioritize what needs to be done in this year? That's one of the questions we're asking tonight here on Interface, and my guests are Minister Lindiwe Zulu, who is with the Department of Small Business Development, and we also have an entrepreneur, author and manager at Deloitte Consulting, Joshua Maluleke. And also, as always, if you would like to join in our discussion, you can do so by finding us on Facebook at Interface on SABC, or on Twitter at Tembisa Magele, or at Interface on SABC. Thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks for giving us the space. It's always a welcome because it's another way of communicating to our small and medium enterprises and cooperatives.
Right. You're welcome, Minister. So this report that just came out, it was quite disheartening to see that they are saying entrepreneurship is actually on the decline in South Africa. Why is that, Minister? I mean, they've put their reasons forward, but when you assess as the ministry, why do you think instead of making even a gradual increase, we're on the decline?
No, I do think that we are making an increase because the understanding of where we are today must not be done in isolation of where we come from as South Africa and where in particular your entrepreneurs should be coming from. Your entrepreneurs are people that either should be coming out of universities, coming out of colleges, coming out of schools, and even coming out of activities in either in the township or rural areas. So the historical background that we have as South Africa cannot be not counted for, because that's where the problem lies. But the other issue obviously is, how do we reach out to our communities and encourage them to look at entrepreneurship? Again, it talks to the fact that many are afraid of even starting because they fear that they are going to fail. So our responsibility as a department, as government in general, as society in general, is to try and encourage our people to take advantage of those opportunities that present themselves. So 22 years in government and people that have been shut out, you've got people that are 5 generations ahead of us, those that were doing business before. You've got 105 years of family farming experience. The majority of black people do not have that. That's why we are here as a department to say, how do we encourage our people to look at entrepreneurship as another way of improving their lives?
I think what I'd like us to do with this discussion, Minister, is to look at the solutions as we progress with the program. But if we were having this conversation 5-10 years ago, then I would take that explanation. But now we've got your ministry in place. We've got everybody almost singing from the same hymn sheet, in that we understand that entrepreneurship plays a large and a huge role in boosting our economy. So there are interventions that are in place, but seemingly they're not coming together. What is the problem?
It's 2 years of the department, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So that has to be taken into consideration, that we're just 2.5 years into office. But that doesn't mean that there hadn't been anything done
That's
before.
What I'm saying, yes.
Remember that government, as way back when we passed the Small Business Development Act and all other legislation, it was meant to assist government to create a conducive environment for SMMEs. Now, creating a conducive environment for SMMEs, it cannot be an overnight thing. Remember that the activities of SMMEs is also dependent on a wide range of things. It's dependent on access to finances, access to, even if you can give them the finances, whatever they produce, if there's no access to market, there's nothing that you can do. So our responsibility as government is, one, create that conducive environment through the proper legislation, through proper regulation, but more than anything else, make it easy for them to do business. So when they want to register business, it must be easy. When they want to find the finances, it must be easy. The problem we've also had is that we've had at different levels. We've acted sometimes like with 3 governments when we won. So at national level, provincial level and local level, we need to streamline our support to small and medium enterprise. And I think through what we already have as a department, I'm beginning to see the difference. I can feel that people are accessing. And also remember, we've got our financial institution, which is SIFA, the Small Enterprise Finance Agency, and SEDA. Those are in all 9 provinces, but that's not enough.
All right. Joshua, same question to you. So when you assess the situation and you say there are interventions that are in place, you're on the ground as an entrepreneur. What are you finding to be, the sticking points? What's not happening?
Perhaps before I answer your question, Thembisa, GEM uses what is called a TEA index, which is the Total Early Stage Entrepreneurial Activity Index. Yeah. So I think the media does not really understand what that means, and that's why we've got sensationalist remarks remarks that you've just mentioned, that the entrepreneurs are on a decline. I want to agree with the minister. So
you're saying they're not on the decline?
Not necessarily.
So what we've been told is not correct.
Let me first explain. You'll be the judge of the statement. So they define 6 categories of entrepreneurs. So perhaps let me define what an entrepreneurial activity of a country is. So it's defined according to the phases within the life cycle of the entrepreneurial ventures in a given country. So logically, in any given country, there will be high varying levels, of course, of participation in the entrepreneurial pipeline process. So we've got what is called the intentional entrepreneurs. Actually, we start with the potential entrepreneurs, which is anyone who thinks they've got the skills, the knowledge and the education, and they don't have fear to go into business. You've got the intentional entrepreneurs, those who intend to go into business within 3 years. You've got what is called new business entrepreneurs. These are the people who have been in business for less than 3 months. You've got the established, actually nascent entrepreneurs for 3 months. New business have been in business for a period not longer than 3.5 years, right? So GEM actually looks at the nascent and the new business category of entrepreneurs, which are entrepreneurs between 3 months, actually between 0 period, we've been in business, but not for a period longer than 3.5 years. Yeah. So you cannot, in my view, because of whatever you found in that category of people, say that the entrepreneurs are in a decline. As a matter of fact, the same GEM report says established businesses. These are businesses, established business entrepreneurs. These are entrepreneurs who've been in business for longer than 3.5 years. Are actually improving. So now I'll get back to the question, but I think
But now we've got to take a short break, because this is how television works.
All
but
right.
We're going to take a short break. We are back after this, and of course, we welcome your thoughts on social media. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Interface tonight, we are in conversation with the Minister of Small Business Development, Minister Lindiwe Zulu, and we are also joined in the studio by entrepreneur, coach, author, and manager at Deloitte Consulting, Mr. Joshua Maluleke. And before the break, we were talking about what the GEM report, which is this report that just came out saying, things are very bad when it comes to entrepreneurship in South Africa. And you were explaining that it's in the startup phase that it is a problem, but it's still a big issue, isn't it?
It is a big issue, but with all fairness, if you go back to the 2014 report, our TEA rate was 7%. We've actually improved now, we're at 9.2%. But I understand the report to be saying that we're declining in terms of the African black entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and women.
And women. So in 2014, we had about 85% of that category of entrepreneurs being constituted by African black people, who, by the way, bear the most brand of unemployment and poverty in the country. You're right about women. So for every 10 males in 2014 who engaged in business as entrepreneurs in that phase, we had 8 women. So now we only have 6 women. So those are things which are concerning. But I want to agree with the minister. I think we must not look for a shotgun approach to solving the economic challenges of the country. So there's a problem with the education system philosophy in the country, right? We have schools and colleges and universities that train our people to to be employees, if you know what I mean. So our people go into these centers of learning to come out with CVs and look for employment. Whereas the thinking has to change. People must come out not only with CVs, but also with business plans, looking for opportunities to create employment.
But let's deal with those people that are
Yes.
coming out with business plans and that are trying to start businesses and are failing miserably at it. Let's look at just some of the Facebook comments that came through, Minister, and I'm going to pose this one to you. Ephraim Gwaba says, if the agencies and organizations could stop strangling the entrepreneurs with their regulation by easing up a little, especially focusing on mentorship and funding and shaping us with the necessary skills, we would actually get somewhere. We asked to pitch our business ideas and business plans in order to get support. We do that, but it just doesn't get anywhere. What do you say to those entrepreneurs who are out there on the grind and are getting disheartened?
Entrepreneurship is about people trying for themselves. It doesn't matter how many times you have to keep on going back and doing it, because it's not government that's going to do the business for you. It's you who's going to do the business for you. That's why we're saying, from a department point of view, the fact that we have different interventions at the 3 spheres of government is what also is a problem, where national, provincial, and local doesn't talk to each other. So our view is, let us try and make sure that the entry phase of those SMMEs who are either in the township, in the rural areas, in whatever, let them be able to go to the nearest place where they can have this conversation about their business plan, firstly. Secondly, let us have one-stop shop of some sort where people can go to one place. Right now, you find people that want to go to CIFA for financial assistance and CEDA, they go to 2 different places. That is disheartening at the end of the day, because firstly, these people we're talking about are small businesses that do not have money with them. So we want to create the one-stop shop where they can go to one place and get all that. But also, it becomes very difficult. My experience in the 2 years, just imagine somebody sitting in the offices of CIFA, people coming in, asking for assistance in developing even the smallest kind of a business plan. Education, therefore, becomes important, because when you have people that have more and better education, by the time they get to CIFA or CEDA to ask for assistance, their plan is looking better, because it is very frustrating when people have got ideas but they can't put those ideas. Education is key, because if they're educated, they will be able to, even on their own, put a solid program on them. That's why we're saying, as a department, let us go back to what is happening in schools to encourage people into entrepreneurship. Let us go to the universities. Let us improve and increase your TVET colleges, where all these issues of learning how to be an entrepreneur can happen.
When are these centers going to come through? Because, I mean, I was saying in the intro that your budget for this year is at 1.3 billion rand, and that's not much, considering...
The centers don't depend on us as a department. The centers are under the Department of Higher Education.
Yes.
The centers are under, even in labor, the Department of Labor.
But when are we likely to see them? Are they there?
They're there,
Do
yes.
people know that they're there?
Yes, they're there.
Okay.
People must find out in the provinces where the TVET colleges are. And by the way, may I just come in here to say, one of the challenges we face is because of historical reasons. People prefer to go to university than thinking of going to TVET colleges. They think a TVET college is not something worthwhile.
Okay, I think we're responding to 2 different things. I'm talking about the centers that you're talking about in rural areas.
You're talking about the one-stop shops.
The one-stop shops for the entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
when is that coming through?
That I can say partly we do have, because if you go to the offices of CIFA and CIVA are in all the 9 provinces, number 1. Number 2, we've got hubs. The hubs are all over the country, and some of the hubs are hubs that we are being assisted by the private sector in some of the hubs to set up the hubs. Say, for instance, in all provinces, there's different hubs. The challenge is people don't know where the hubs are.
All right.
That's why we believe communication is a little bit weak on our side as the department. We need to step up our communications so that people can know where exactly they have to go to.
Let's use interface as one of the platforms
Oh,
through which you can communicate. The ease of doing business, that's one of the things that the report highlighted, saying, you know, if you go to other countries on the African continent, you can actually get a business up and running in 30 minutes. In South Africa, it takes 46 days to do that. What has been your experience?
Yeah, look, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because South Africa is known to produce things of a qualitative nature. But I think, before I give you a precise answer to what you're asking me, I think the bigger question in the country is that we do not know what entrepreneurship is. We tend to confuse people who are in business who are to be automatic entrepreneurs, and that's not the case. So in my book, I talk about the 5 common salient features that make an entrepreneur. One of these is that the businesses that are created by these entrepreneurs have to be active corporate citizens. So they have to make a difference when they are doing their business. I'll give you an example. We've had a lot of tenderpreneurs, a concept that I'm sure you know, since 1994. Some study has been done that shows that many of those are effectively broke today because they had opportunities through the government support, but they were not entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurs are people like someone like, let me give you Raymond Ackerman so that I can stick to him. Raymond Ackerman, when he was fired from Checkers, he bought 4 small, more like spaza shops. He has qualitatively changed them into something very big. I mean, Pick and Pay today is very big. It actually operates beyond the borders of the country.
This is more of an academic discussion because we've got situation entrepreneurs, people that emerge from the townships that maybe because of the situation they found themselves in, turned to start a business and have been successful after that. So we can have that academic discussion about what makes an entrepreneur. But today I want us to talk about how we support those that are actually in business right now, running small businesses.
Yeah.
Where do you think the issue is? What must the minister focus on right this second?
Okay, I still maintain that we need education. We have someone like Emin Mashawa, by the way, from the township, who came out of Tefluop as a sophomore, second-year student. I mean, his family was very poor, but he managed to grow his business. I mean,
entrepreneur.
Yes,
yeah.
But I've got a problem again with the GEM report. They seem to suggest that South Africa needs a lot of opportunity-driven entrepreneurs as opposed to necessity-driven entrepreneurs. Well, ideally in a developed country, yes, we want to have a lot of opportunity-driven, but I think we need to support these necessity-driven entrepreneurs. But the issues for me is that people do not understand this animal called entrepreneurship.
All right. Yeah. Do you agree with that? Give us your thoughts on Facebook at Interface on SABC or on Twitter at Tembisa Magele or at Interface on SABC. We're back after this short break. And we now wrap up our discussion on entrepreneurship. If you've had experiences as a small business owner, whether you define yourself as an entrepreneur or not, we do want to hear from you so that we can tackle the issues that you are raising. And we are in conversation with Minister Lindwe Zulu and also Joshua Maluleke, who is an author and also an entrepreneur. Minister, one of the criticisms that came through from one of the co-authors of the GEM report, I know you're very critical of it, but he was saying that, let me read what he says. His name is Mike Harrington. He says the main person behind the report. Yes. He says that this report should actually be cause for alarm because it has never been more important or urgent for South Africa's policymakers, that would be you, to make strong commitment to growing the economy because currently that commitment is lacking. So he identifies government policy and programs that you have in place as one of the reasons why entrepreneurship is on the decline. Your response?
Well, I think developing entrepreneurship and developing businesses is really a process. You can't wake up in the morning and think that everything will be fine. As government, we have identified, for instance, red tape to be a problem for small businesses. Secondly, we've identified legislation and regulation. That's why we are reviewing your Small Business Development Act. It's on the basis of our realization that if that act was passed more than 15 years ago, what are the conditions today? What can we do to do that?
And how are you dealing with the red tape?
We have a program that specifically focuses on dealing with the red tape. We were having workshops in all the provinces because, listen, the people who are involved in either increasing the red tape or reducing it are the officials who are sitting behind the desk who need to respond very quickly. So we have a fully fledged plan in the department, which we are now rolling out to all the 9 provinces to say at provincial and at local level, let them look at how, because by the way, the provinces are different. You can't say red tape in one place is the same as in another. It's also about education. Unfortunately, we have to keep on getting back to this issue of education because that's an important element. The other issue is about payment of small and medium enterprises. 30-day payment, it's all encompassed in creating a conducive environment for SMMEs to be able to operate.
We've got only a few minutes left, but access to markets, you know, how do you advise entrepreneurs who want to access markets and they're saying, I've got the product, I know it's good. And the GEM report also says, which was a positive thing, also says that we are innovative in the way that we come up with ideas. But how do I access the markets?
I think entrepreneurs must be go-getters. We tend to want to say that government has to babysit entrepreneurs. I do not agree. But I think what we need in the country is a coordinated effort of making to improving the culture of entrepreneurship in the country. We need government to partner with big business because these are the people who are experienced, the JSE listed companies and so on. So I think when we can have that partnership happening, of course, I think government within itself has to improve on some of the efficiencies. But I think when we have that happening, then I think everything else is
Private
possible.
sector, when we have them here, they say, oh no, we've just started this fund, we've put in R1 billion, and we're waiting for government to come through and put in money as well because we are trying to show that we are committed to this process. Are they really coming to the party?
Fact. When did business come through to the party? Let's get that. Freedom came in 1994. Government sat with very little money, which was just the money that had to be addressing all other issues. It's now that business is saying, we are coming together with government, and you know that it was through the engagement of both government and the private sector where now they came up with the 1.5 billion, which we appreciate, but we still, it's got to be a double digit. If you think of how much money they're sitting on reserves and the challenges that government is facing in supporting small and medium enterprises and in particular black businesses, that's not enough. But we also appreciate the fact that this relationship that we are now trying to strengthen, because when I came into government, I was told that there's a deficit of trust between government and the private sector. So we took a step further of inviting them. President Jacob Zuma invited them to meetings, and I think those meetings that we are having now are going to assist us in understanding one thing. Empowering black people and improving the lives of people cannot remain a responsibility of government alone. It's a responsibility of both business, and the private sector would help us more because they are in that space, and they must open up the market for small businesses, as you were talking about. Where's the market? They have to open up that, as we do as government.
Very quickly, funding is another big one. Amos Chikonde says, most multilateral lending institutions don't consider the merits of the business. They want collateral, and this is a problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, commercial banks want security. But I want to agree with them in the same way the minister argued that some of the businesses that aspirant entrepreneurs can create are not necessarily capital intensive. They don't need a lot of money. So we just have this obsession that before I start a business, I need to have capital. Yeah, and let me refer back to that Raymond Ackerman's guy. Within that difficult phase of his life, he says that business success is actually 90% passion of the business that you're engaged in and only 10% capital.
And those people that have lots of passion and need the money, that 10%, where do they go, Minister? If they're sitting watching the show now.
From our department point of view, they go to SIFA, which is our Small Enterprise Finance Agency. But we don't only ask them to come to us. We ask them to go to NEF. We ask them to go to any other development finance agency that is around there, because he rightfully says, when you're an entrepreneur, you've got to be a go-getter. You need to find the information for yourself, and government is doing the best to communicate with people, but it's up to you as an entrepreneur to find that information.
A very quick one on government and the commitment of government. Why is there so little money allocated to your department?
Well, that is a problem that we have raised, I've raised personally in all the areas where I'm supposed to raise that. And I think that as we grow as a department, we are going to be getting more financial support. Remember that also we were formed at a very difficult time when the economy is not doing as well, and also the demand for funding for government of all the departments is there. But we're soldiering on. We're saying to entrepreneurs, don't wait for government support. Find ways and means of growing your business. We'll do our best to create a conducive environment.
Right, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Minister.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for coming through to talk to us. Your thoughts? Is this enough? What's been said on this program? Give us those thoughts on social media. Let's continue the conversation after this program. Good night.